Let's talk about Big Hero 6, which on the surface is just an ordinary action flick by the Disney company. And it's a fantastic film. First of all, the animation is fantastic, the story is gripping, even the world building is quite original, and the story is set in San Francisco, so some mixture between San Francisco and Tokyo. It's a really original and good film. But that doesn't really explain why it has such extremely high ratings on both Rotten Tomatoes and Letterboxd. I think there must be something else at play here, and I have a theory as for what that is. Big Hero 6 is in the genre of boy-robot films, and as we've established before, the robot in these films represents a man, so this is a boy-man film, you could say. But the man is disguised, and that makes it possible for these characters to be more intimate with each other than would be possible if it was actually a boy and a man. Boy-robot films follow 3 rules, which is that 1, they meet by chance, 2, the boy has the power over the robot, and 3, they must part in the end. Big Hero 6 adheres to these rules perfectly. The film is about Hiro and Baymax. Hiro is the boy, and Baymax is the robot of Hiro's older brother, who built him as part of a science project.
This is what I've been working on.
Baymax is a healthcare robot, so he's there to help. And already in the beginning of the film, so it's not really a spoiler, Hiro's older brother dies. But Baymax is still there in his package, but he listens for people who might hurt themselves. So when Hiro drops something on his foot, Baymax awakens. So this is their chance meeting. Which is rule 1 of these boy-robot films. And part of rule 1 is also that the robot appears at a certain point in the boy's life, and that point is when he reaches puberty. That is when he starts his journey from child to adult, and that is when the robot is needed. This is made explicit in Big Hero 6. Baymax scans Hiro for injuries and concludes that he is suffering from puberty.
Your hormone and neurotransmitter levels indicate that you are experiencing mood swings, common in adolescence. Diagnosis? Puberty.
Whoa, what?
Rule 2, that the boy has the power over the robot, is also made explicit in Big Hero 6. Since the robot is programmed to help, the boy has to say the phrase "I am satisfied with my care" in order for the robot to deactivate.
Get you back in your luggage.
I cannot deactivate until you say you are satisfied with your care.
In other words, the robot is there to satisfy the boy, literally. And rule 3 is that they must part, and we will get to that. But before that, we need to add something more, because these 3 rules are more like the formal grammar of boy-robot films, the structure. But we need to add something more juicy, some magic potion of some kind. Something that makes these films so magical and so popular. And I think I've found what that is. It's very simple. We can add a rule that says that the boy and the robot must have a lot of fun together. They must have fun together. It's as simple as that. And I have 3 examples or tropes of boy-robot fun. The first one is what I call boy school, which is that the boy teaches the robot something from his own life. In Big Hero 6, Hiro teaches Baymax to do a fist bump.
Yeah, fist bump.
Fist bump is not in my fighting database.
No, this isn't a fighting thing. It's what people do sometimes when they're excited or pumped up.
And this is a way for the boy to invite the robot to his world. It also shows that although the robot is the boy's superior in terms of physical power, there are also areas where the boy is the robot's superior.
Now you're getting it?
I will add fist bump to my caregiving matrix.
That is why the robot always gets the boy's abilities slightly wrong.
Ba-la-la-la.
Baymax can't do a perfect fist bump because he's not a perfect boy, so the boy is his superior there. We can see another example of this in Terminator 2, where John teaches the Terminator less robotic language.
You don't say affirmative or some shit like that. You say, no problemo. And if someone comes off to you with an attitude, you say, eat me. And if you want to shine them on, it's hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, baby.
The reason why we love this phrase is that the robot is using the language of the boy. And this is both out of character, thereby fun, but it also reminds us of their relationship, so that's why it's heartwarming.
Hasta la vista, baby.
The second trope of the kind of fun that boys and robots can have together in these films is pure physical interaction. The classic example here is not from a robot but from a bear, namely Mowgli and Baloo in The Jungle Book, also a Disney movie, this one from 1969. And even though Hiro doesn't tickle Baymax in the Mowgli sense, their interaction reminds a lot of that of Mowgli and Baloo. And it's also quite similar to the physical interaction of Atreyu and his luck dragon in The Neverending Story from 1984. Just like the robots, this fantasy creature represents a man, which makes this scene a little bit hard to stomach for today's audience probably, because today we see this with different eyes than we did in 1984.
Yeah! Oh. That's so good.
But that was only the foreplay, because the third example of boy-robot fun is when the boy uses the physical power of the robot to its full extent. And in Big Hero 6, this is when Hiro is flying on Baymax. This is such a wonderful scene because it is when both the story and the animation reach a crescendo. This is the so-called money shot, as anthropologist Anne Allison called these scenes in anime. The powerful music and advanced animation really take us in. We become immersed in the film and in the relation of the boy and the robot. It's the film's highlight and we love it. Note how similar this scene is to the flying scene in The Neverending Story, where Atreyu rides his luck dragon in a very similar way. This too is the crescendo of that film. The soundtrack's most famous song blasts out of the speakers as the boy and the dragon fly away together into the horizon. And this is symbolism. These money shot scenes can be seen as symbolizing another kind of activity that humans enjoy engaging in and which also ends in a crescendo. And just like in that activity, the crescendo scene in these movies is followed by a moment of blissful tranquility, where the boy and the robot exhale together and just enjoy each other's company. I mean, look at the harmony in this scene. You almost expect Baymax to light a cigarette. And by the way, this is also the scene where Baymax uses the word sick in the way that the boy has taught him.
That was...
Sick? It is just an expression.
That's right, buddy.
And this binds them together even more, and just look at Hiro's excited face when Baymax gives him this proof of the boy's influence over the robot. The quiet scene after the action is also there in pure action movies like Rambo 3 from 1988, where Rambo is accompanied by a young Afghan boy whose beauty is so striking that even mainstream newspapers commented on it in their reviews. LA Times called him dewy-eyed. Since this is an action movie set in a war zone, Rambo and Hamid don't have fun in the same way as Hiro and Baymax or Mowgli and Baloo, but even so, the action-filled sequence when they fight together against the enemy can be seen as the film's crescendo. It is their fun. And just like in the boy-robot movies, the scene is followed by a moment of blissful tranquility. This is when they have sought refuge in a cave and Rambo tends to the boy's wounds.
I want to stay.
Good.
And this is a secret ingredient, not the boy himself, but the relation that the boy has with the robot, or with the man, since the robot represents a man, and once you see that, you can't unsee it. Boys and men used to be on screen together in movies before World War II, as Jeffrey P. Dennis has shown in his work. But then something happened, and now a man can only be together with a boy in this disguised form. The man is like a prisoner inside this ludicrously abstract figure, like a costume. What's interesting to me is not that the robot symbolizes a man, because that is obvious, but that this symbolism is so popular. People love these movies, but they don't know why they love them. And disguising the man as a robot or some other fantastical creature makes it possible for people to continue loving these movies without being confronted with what it is that they actually love, which is boy-man relations. So the next question would be, why do people love boy-man relations? Why do they love this symbolism? Well, maybe because the rest of our lives are devoid of it. Boy-man relations are extinct, but at the same time, there is an intuition in people that boys actually do need a man at a certain point of their lives to guide them through this tricky passage from child to adult. We have talked about this before. So the vanished boy-man relations becomes a symbol for everything that is wrong and stressful in our contemporary society. Boy-man relations is something that people unconsciously long for. And Big Hero 6 taps into this longing, and that is why the film is so successful.
You have been a good boy. Have a lollipop.
Nice.
And this of course begs the question, if people love these relations so much, then why do the boy and the robot have to separate in the end of these movies, as Rule 3 stipulates? Well, there's a very good reason for that, and we'll talk about that in the next video.
Your body temperature is still low.
Yeah, uh-huh.